All right, we're live. Yeah. So, but by the way, everybody, welcome to IAEM 2024. I know we've been doing some. Dan has been doing some podcasting and video casting over the last few hours, and this is my first shot at it today. It's been crazy busy. It's been awesome. This is the biggest IAEM that we've had conference in a long time, and the largest floor. A lot more vendors. Yeah.
More vendors, a lot more sessions, a lot more people.
Yeah, 2,500 people.
Plus it's 27.
2,700 people.
Okay, I was like, it's a lot.
2,800 people. Let's keep going up.
We keep going up. More will show up tomorrow.
Yeah, no, they will. I mean, it's great. So last year we talked about programming and education and stuff like this. What are you getting out of IAEM 2024?
Well, 2024, a lot of things have changed since we spoke last year. So I'm done with school, so it's Dr. Richardson.
Dr. Richardson.
Right, and so for me, it's more so establishing that brand, right, that communication. Talking to some people who may be doing research in areas that I'm interested in, and or already working along the same lines of our conversation with curriculum, programming, helping students, and be able to say, hey, last time we met, I was a student, now I'm no longer a student.
Right.
How can I help them? How can we collaborate, communicate, and coordinate this mission to just try to give the next generation of emergency managers, your students, the tools and resources to be successful?
So, what have you seen over the last 12 months, maybe the last couple of years, on students interacting in the emergency management? I know, it's been hard to. Some programs have gone away. We see some new programs kind of popping up, but what are we doing that we need to? What can we do? Let me rephrase it. What can we do to better entice students to come into the field of emergency management?
I think I'll do it from three different perspectives. From the academic perspective, I would recommend enhancing our programming approaches. Right, curriculum is one thing, sure, but our programming approaches. What do I mean by that? We have examples like Maritime University. I can't think of it off the top of my head. There's another HBCU that has a great CERT program that they bring their students out to higher symposium and things that give students a little bit more than just what's in the classroom. Right? How do we get them ingrained to the practice outside of capstone volunteering, but the culture of emergency management? I think that's one piece from the academic side of things that we can potentially do better at, outside of just modules, tests, and so forth.
Right.
On the practitioner side of it, I think as practitioners, we also have to work on supporting the field in its evolution to be more sustainable. So the student in me and the dad in me is like, my daughter doesn't need dreams.
Right.
So as much as I may resonate with this type of work, I still have to bills to pay, daughter to feed. So how can I, one, get access to the field, and then two, when I get there, have to pay that, if not mirrors, is at least within range to not just pay my bills, but create a future for my daughter. And again, that's a larger issue, right?
Huge issue.
Pay,
Yeah.
and status, stuff like that. So we talked about education and academic, we talked about the practitioner piece. I think from an organizational perspective is we have to also work on enhancing the value of the programs that we have. So rather that be our certification program, state, EM, rather that be EM Leaders Program. Some states are doing that now. Texas has their academy, things like that. How do we create programming that may touch both, but gives a higher ROI in the standpoint of preparation, access, and connection with those who want to come to this profession?
Let's talk about access for a minute. So I think, one of the things that I've been struggling with, especially in the higher education side, is getting the students in the door, right? And I'm trying to figure out why we're not getting students. And when you brought up access, are we missing the boat on getting, whether we're going through instructional college universities, whether we're reaching out to communities that are underserved in general? Think about the storms in North Carolina, right? I mean, the people in Appalachian Mountains, they didn't even want government there. You know what I mean? But is it because they don't understand that relationship, right? Like, what are we doing wrong on that point?
I think that we may be looking at it from our perspective and not the student perspective. And so, for me, even in my own journey from emergency management, I was originally going to school to be a physical therapist, studying medicine, and be a physiologist and so forth. When I realized there are more job opportunities in EM than there was physical therapy to match the pay, that's what tipping point for me.
Gotcha.
So looking at my students, especially HBCU students, first generation students, from those communities that we're talking about need support, while they're being a student, they're trying to think, and this is my lived experience, I'm not trying to speak for all students, is what can I line myself up getting a job out of school that's going to pay me, it's going to give me benefits, and allow me to have a life that's sustained. Right? While you're a student, you're sleep deprived, food deprived, your attention split. And so how do we essentially show them the value in this type of work? Because some may organically develop a passion.
Absolutely.
But as a job, as a profession, what is the value that speaks to them for what their immediate needs are? Now, if we get them in at their immediate needs and we're able to get them jobs where they pay and benefits, stuff like that, I think from that point we have a more in-depth conversation on how do we grow that opportunity. I think that first step is how do we meet them where they are with their immediate needs.
I think one of the problems that we have, not in the education side of it, but on the job side, is we government. Not talking about private side. The government goes, oh, we're going to have this great internship opportunity for you. Oh, it's not going to pay you.
Or it's not in my community.
Or it's not your community. But I mean, I think the pay part of it is even more so because that means it's only for certain people who can afford it.
And as again, just I like to use my own experience. I don't want to try to put anybody in the front street. When I was an undergraduate student, I was working 5-6 different part-time jobs to get through. I was a master's student. I was working full-time, basically overtime, 56 hours a week while in school full-time. As a doctoral student, I was in school full-time, working full-time, right? So if there were opportunities that were able to compensate my, again, immediate needs and Maslow's hierarchy of needs that what I need right now, I will be able to intern and get that stuff. But everyone doesn't have a family or a support system that allows them to work for free. And especially it's not within their community, right? Because now they have to move to be there. That just creates more barriers, unfortunately. I know there's a lot of complexities to these programs, but it's like, how do we lower the barriers, increase the access, and make it feasible in between? I don't have the answer. I think it's a conversation we should be having.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of steps that we need to do, and I think one of it is making people understand what emergency management is in general in communities. I think we need to do a better outreach into the communities.
I mean, I believe it's Europe and Australia do a really good job of this, where they start teaching emergency management in grade school. So, like how we learned about what a firefighter is, what a law enforcement officer is, military. They have emergency management in there. Say, hey, we call it emergency management. They may call something else.
Crisis management.
Yeah, crisis management. Our contacts. They say this is emergency management. What they do. They kind of break that down a little bit, and just hearing about it, it's like hearing about a city manager. As they grow up and they take government and so forth, and econ, high school, middle school, I think exposure at that level, just kind of opening the door to that conversation, is a good place to start. So at that point, we're starting to create a pipeline to let them know early on this is an option, and if they are interested, they can start exploring that before they can get the college.
I was talking to a friend of mine. He's in the tribal community. Choctaw Nation. Looked over there, and he was talking about the challenges that he has specifically with some of the impoverished areas in the Choctaw Nation of getting people prepared, and it's in the choices that they have to make when it comes to that. And I know it's not just there. I just brought this out because that's a really area that a lot of people don't think about when we're looking at underserved communities.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that I've seen. I'm not speaking again on behalf of these organizations or these communities. Is I have a buddy who works for similar Florida Similar Tribe. I also have had the opportunity to learn from other Native Americans in Michigan, Arkansas, California, and their communities, and share their lessons, their names, and so forth, their culture with me through some other workshops and research pieces. But for them, each tribe is different.
Right.
Each process is different. Their elders, their clans, all those things are different as we expect. I think that cultural nuance becomes difficult because of how federally we approach it.
Right.
And I only say that because I learned recently, Similar Tribe of Florida specifically has never signed anything resembling a peace treaty.
Huh.
right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean look like? And this again,
Right, that's what I'm thinking about.
yeah, this is a paraphrase. It's not specific quotes right there like that. It comes down to right an MOU, MOA, it's a form of treaty or agreement.
Right.
We start talking about certain ways that we apply for stuff that for states, cities, counties. It's common because they're already within that standpoint. But for a community like that, where they're the thing is like we're not signing a treaty with your government.
Right.
We need to be figuring out, well, how can we still support?
I was about to say that. How do we do that?
And I think it begins to have that conversation with that community,
right?
First and foremost, because I'm pretty sure if we open the door and have that conversation, they'll tell you, this is what we're willing to do, this is what we're not willing to do.
Right.
And
I was just thinking about like the trigger mechanisms of how to get things to work. You know,
as far as like operationally within the government.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I think the conversation starts first with what's the ask.
Right.
What's the ask? I think we can talk about the triggers and say, okay, well, based on how some policies, litigation, or programs are built, we may be able to be creative in our approach to still provide a service to a community without having them feel like they're surrendering their sovereignty. And again, I'm not speaking for all tribal nations.
Sure.
But I think that conversation, talking to the people who represent that community, who may be emergency managers in that community, who are empowered by their elders in that community, and have them tell us, and I say us just because we're having a conversation, but tell those who maybe work on the federal side,
right,
what does that look like? And then we work through step by step. All these are large problems,
right.
Multi-step problems, high complexities. We'll start with one thing. Let's have a conversation. So we pull from it, step two. So we pull from it, how can we align? And take that slow, consistent process to figure out, can we get to a solution? If we can't, at least we know that's one way not to go.
Right. Dan Scott's off camera right now. You might be able to hear him, but it's his hand. But anyway, he's a member of the Choctaw Nation, and I know we've had that conversation before, right, Dan, about emergency management, and what. And I think one of the things that we also have to be respectful of is me showing up at the Choctaw Nation or anywhere, any of the tribes. I'm an outsider 100%. They don't want to hear from me at all, you know. And so I think we need to be sensitive to that and how we work through this.
100%. Like I said, on this last year, I just had the privilege to learn, particularly Florida, you know, the Central Tribe of Florida. At least this last 35 days, I've had the opportunity to learn a lot about their culture. Learn a lot about how they do business, how they do emergency management, and of course I have like other things I've learned from different tribes, but again, it's not their tribe.
Right.
And so I think that's where we start, right? Learning about the culture. Like, if I want to support, how can I be an ally?
That's right.
And follow the lead of that community. And I think that's a great segue of the reflection of not only tribal communities, but all underserved communities. Is how can we? Tell me how I can be an ally.
Yeah.
Like, let me listen to you first before I start just shoving stuff at you.
Right.
And I know that's a lot heavy of a lift because there's not enough of us, not enough dollars, not enough everything.
Well, I mean, in the broader picture of this conversation, and this is what I was talking about today in my conversation with starting a podcast for emergency managers. Excuse me. Is when you're reaching out to underserved communities, no matter what they are, it doesn't make a difference. It's a broad brush, right? I mean, the Appalachian community in our face right now, so I bring it up, completely underserved. They don't want government intervention. You know, Tennessee, there's areas where they don't care what level of government you are, they don't trust you, right? So you have to build that trust first. But reaching out to them first, in the blue sky days, and saying, what are your expectations, what do you want, what are your needs? Not that we're here to help because we know better than you. And I think that we need to get out of our own space first and get into their space and have that conversation.
And I like to draw a line between when we started talking about students,
Right.
Meeting them with their needs, and the communities we're talking about also meeting them with their needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it comes full circle of that. If we approach things with how can we meet you where you are, how can we do so consistency from a place of I have resources that I can offer. If you don't want them, I respect that. I do want to establish a relationship with you if possible. I do want to communicate with you if possible.
I think that's the key word, relationship. You know, we are so apt to just be like, hey, you know, I'm the Mr. Smart guy. I know everything. I'm going to come in and do this. and it's like not what they need or want. And you don't even know what they need or want because you never spoken to them.
And I also think it comes with a level of, again, my current year life lessons, right? A level of humility as well, because you have to be able to have tough conversations on both sides. Another short story is I had a colleague in Texas that got to learn with this past year, and we butted heads on some things, but not in a negative way.
Right.
We just had two different views, and I got an opportunity to educate him from my perspective. He educated me from his perspective. We were able to kind of go apart, come back, and do our own individual research. And say, you know what? I didn't think about it that way.
Right.
We were able to have a not necessarily heated debate, but a very passionate conversation that not only strengthened our relationship, but was like, I didn't know that.
I seek different opinions on purpose because I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I want to hear different points of view, things that are going to challenge me, for me to think things that maybe never came across my radar. I think that's important. So I do appreciate that. So we've been here talking for a bit. Let's talk a little bit about the conference here. What have you seen here that really kind of wowed you?
For me, it's right here next to us, DefLink.
Oh yeah.
I'm a real big advocate, ally, fan of deaf community, deaf artist community culture, and in my own free time, I try to find opportunities to do research and bring resources to the deaf community. And DefLink is one of the people I came here and like I need to talk to them, get a business card, access some resources. That way, I can try to stay up. So that's one person I was really looking forward to seeing, as well as some of the other schools that are around and that are poking around and say, you know, what do you guys working on? How are you integrating your communities?
A lot of schools.
Yeah. A lot of
great.
schools. But I like to ask because, you know, even if something that doesn't resonate with me, it may resonate with somebody else I know who can use an opportunity that's not here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other part of it, right? We're networking, we're building relationships. And in that means that if I know somebody who can help initiate a cause, help better our communities, whichever community you're serving at the point in time, get a card. I'll make sure they get it. And connect them.
Well, Dr. Richardson, it's been great. It's great to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
Congratulations on the doctor.
The sleep has been amazing.
All right, everybody. We'll be out here again in a little bit. And thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you in a bit.